I think from the beginning he's struggling with his own emotional response to being exposed to a version of hell, to a version of outer darkness, to a version of a place where nothing matters. You basically gave a gift to me as an actor, which is such a compelling and inherently dramatic, actable, playable conflict in the character of Jeb Pyrie. To be torn between all these opposing directions that he loves and cares about so much. He does care about his faith and his church so much. He cares about his wife so deeply, his kids, his extended family, his imagined future in the celestial kingdom with his wife, with his kids, born and unborn. This belief that he will be reunited with his mother after she passes, his father, all of these things crumbling within him as a kind of byproduct of him just simply doing his job, which is a pursuit of truth and justice and an honoring of Brenda Lafferty and Erica Lafferty, who were killed in such a evil way. So as an actor, you set me up to be torn apart, basically, to be kind of stretched between poles.
Thou shalt love thy wife with all thy heart, and shalt cleave unto her and none else. Doctrine and Covenants 42:22. Alan, did you love your wife with all your heart?
One of the things that I really appreciated about the way you approached it is that it felt like it was about who Pyrie was in immediate touch with. It felt very human. Who does he love? Who does he depend on? What's his foundation? And all of that transcends this faith. And frankly, is more true to the experience I had in the faith, which is if you don't examine it deeply, it's a very safe, warm, comfortable place to be and to raise a family. In a culture where family comes first, it felt important we put that forward first. And because my fear was always that everyone in the show would just become absolutely, would feel at arm's length to any just regular Joe watching. Right. And that would have been a mistake. That would have been dishonest, but it also would have been a mistake because for me, Jeb and Taba are the ways in, and so you did go to Utah. I don't know if you want to talk at all about that, but that was really meaningful to me that you did that. Very meaningful to me that you did that, because it showed a reverence towards getting it right. We're going to be critical of parts of this faith, but we also want to make sure we honor the parts that are worthy of being honored.
Brother, when men of faith say that they feel the burning of the bosom by the Holy Spirit, I was raised to believe them.
If they told me their bosom was burning to let someone die, I'd do my own praying.
To put my feet on that particular piece of land, and to meet young college students from BYU, and just to pick up a almost frightening optimism that was coming off of these young Mormon students. I had to bite my tongue a lot and not say, well, have you thought about this? Have you read this book?
The people you were talking to must know this book and what it's about. And I'm so curious what you heard from some of these people. Was there pushback? Was there concern? Or did you meet Mormon polite?
I met Mormon polite. It did feel like when I brought it up to Mormons who are very much still in the faith, it was a kind of, I could feel like a kind of a backing off. There was a receding in their psyche. From other people in the faith or who are on their way out of the faith, or it's obviously something that is very important to people. It feels almost like I wouldn't say a Bible, but a kind of a new doctrine in uncovering the truth.
It was a very helpful way out of a and I say dark not because it was sinister, but because it lacked light, it lacked information, it lacked clarity and understanding,
Sure.
That book was a real helpful kind of handhold back out of that cave. But frankly, it does leave you, not for Krakauer perhaps as much because he didn't, or at all because he wasn't raised in it. But then it was my question at the end of having read it, and I think it's Pyrie's question at the end of this series, which is, now what? I've stepped out of the cave, I've stepped out of the darkness, I have a better understanding. Now what do I do with this? And I'm so curious. I didn't want to have a neat ending for Pyrie, because I think there's many Mormons or people of other devotion who might watch it and have that same question. Do I work to repair my faith? Do I move on to a different faith? Do I stop attempting to have this faith in something I can't know? I hope some people say, I'm going to stay in it in one way or another, because I feel like it is in need of repair. So to me, this isn't just about people abandoning a faith. It's like, well, what, believe it or not, it needs some fixing.
I read our history. All of it. All of that personal revelation. It seems to me that it's just men listening to their own selfish desires and calling it God so they can justify anything.
The scenes that would usually have been hard to play actually became the ones I was most looking forward to, because it was the place where Pyrie was free to express. He doesn't allow himself to do it very, very often. He's always fighting his own it's like he at the beginning of the story, as soon as he's called to that crime scene, he's entering a kind of underworld that he's never experienced before. And for someone who's so pure and so good and so optimistic and trusting of Heavenly Father's plan and the hierarchy and order of things, to be exposed to these less godly elements, I think from the beginning he's struggling with his own emotional response to being exposed to a version of hell, to a version of outer darkness, to a version of a place where nothing matters, and people feel enabled to behave in a way that is animal, that is primal, that is evil. So the harder moments for me were the procedural moment. I would go, I think in episode 4, I only ask questions. Every single line has a question mark at the end of it.
He's asking questions, but if the audience is paying attention, and particularly to the foundation we lay in episode 1, I hope the audience realizes how badly some of Alan Lafferty's answers sting and how deep they go. And certainly the end of episode 1 with Becca and Jeb in the shower is supposed to help the audience say, okay, this is not easy. And he's going to try his best not to react as a police officer, because he shouldn't. This shouldn't become a religious debate in those interrogation rooms. But his responses, though, they're not words. It's emotion. It's restraint. I thought you were doing such a magnificent job of that the entire time. I watched the monitor, and I could see the character wanting to push back, wanting to respond, having to, quote unquote, bite your tongue. And to me, that's fabulous, as long as the writer also at some point opens the door.
Sir, if you insist on believing in a Mormon God, then go. Go and pray to him, like Joseph taught you to. Ask him for wisdom.
I would say one of the things that was very important to me is this dance you do in a true story between authenticity and entertainment. It has to be engaging. And it's always what are you going to do? What are the tricks to get people to pay attention to what really matters to you as an author? Trick them with a laugh is a wonderful way to do it, but this isn't that genre, so it had to become thriller. And then the dance saying, we have to honor these real lives that were lost in this situation that is ongoing in this faith and beyond, and at the same time making sure it's worthy of someone's Thursday night. It's a tough dance. It's something that lives in your gut, and I think it defines any writer or creator's style, is how far they're willing to bend what happened, what the strict truth of it was, before it snaps.
Wow, yeah, gosh. I mean, it's so much easier being an actor. It is just like...
I don't know about that. What you do to me is such a marvel. That you can, and I know you have a character, but to be able to bring that vulnerability to the big screen and small screen and to millions of eyes, that is truly terrifying to me. Just getting up on stage yesterday, truly terrifying to me. And I do it a lot, but it's only worth it to me. I'm getting strangely emotional about it. It's only worth it to me if it does feel like it's cracking something that needs to be broken. and that it is personal, but it's not just in my therapy session. It's personal in a way that I realize I survived that thing, but no one else should have to. It sounds very altruistic. It's not something born of me. It's from having grown up with a mother who was like that and who had a deep sense of justice in her, a disabled woman who was, disfigured and from polio and did not believe she should be treated differently because of how different she looked. This isn't one that anyone did because of the money or the fame or anything like that. And I know that. It's really meaningful.
Your friends from Utah and who advises on the show, and they will send me through very, very beautiful kind of letters and posts and confessionals, really, from people who are feeling so seen by the show, who are feeling so kind of healed and reassured, particularly from Jeb's crisis of faith.
When you're questioning in a place like Salt Lake Valley, particularly in that time, it's so lonely, and so you silence the doubt. And I feel like anytime you silence something, shame creeps in. And I do hope that just being seen, meaning like what you just said, that people go, oh, okay. And all of a sudden you're not alone. So the shame starts to dissipate. I do,
Gorgeous.
As much as I'm really pleased that the thriller genre element has worked, hearing people's response to the finale. Now the other side of me goes, yeah, but don't forget this is inspired by a true story. This happened and this has happened, both in this faith and in others. So now I'm on the other side of it going, I'm glad you're entertained, but make sure you know that there's thoughtful action to be taken when you're done with the show.